Let's say you buy a condo in the Philippines and you're told it could rent for around 700 a month. So that's 8,400 a year in income, right? Well, not exactly. And if you're a Filipino-American investing in the Philippines from the US, this is something you really need to understand. Let me make this practical. You're here in the US earning US dollars, saving in dollars, and now you're thinking about putting some of that money into Philippine real estate. Maybe you're looking at a condo that could potentially rent for around 700 a month. It's very easy to take 700, multiply by 12 and say, great, that's 8,400 a year, but that's your potential gross rent. That's not necessarily what ends up in your pocket. So who's going to manage the property while you're here in the US? What are the association dues? What about the maintenance and the repairs, applicable taxes and fees? What if you need to furnish the unit? What also happens when a furniture or appliances needs to be replaced? And there's something every investor needs to consider: vacancy. Let's say your tenant moves out. Instead of receiving rent for 12 months, maybe you're only collecting rent for 10 or 11. Now your annual income just changed, but many of our ownership expenses don't really disappear. And here's something else that especially is important for US based investors. Currency matters. You're putting US dollars into an asset in the Philippines, but your rental income and many of your expenses may be in Philippine peso. Exchange rates move. So the amount that income represents in US dollars can change over time. There's another part of the investment we need to understand as well. So here is a very simple habit. The next time you're shown a Philippine investment property and someone tells you what it could potentially rent for, don't stop at what's the monthly rent. Ask, what could my estimated net income look like after expenses and realistic? And then go one step further. What if that 700 projection becomes 600? What if the property is vacant for 2 months? What if you have unexpected repairs? Does that investment still make sense? That's what I want the Filipino-American investors to start doing. We're not being pessimistic. We're stress testing our investments because you're taking money you've worked so hard for here in the US and deploying it thousands of miles away. That deserves more analysis than simply looking at an attractive rental projection. So remember, gross rent gets your attention, but what actually what you actually keep is what matters. I'm Jenny Kirkich, and this is Philippine Capital Shift, where we talk about how Filipino-Americans can think more strategically about moving capital from the US to the Philippine real estate.